request all of you to please rise up for University Kulti.
शिक्षा दीक्षा की परंपरा से राष्ट्र का हुआ सदा उत्थान। कौशल और नव सृजन से सजा हुआ गौरव अभियान,
सजा हुआ गौरव अभियान।
ज्ञान विज्ञान की शक्ति से हम मंडल में हुए साबित। सीखा है इतिहास से हमने, नव तकनीकों में हुए समाहित, नव तकनीकों में हुए समाहित। सगम सानि पम गमरि सनि सनि। संस्कारों की शक्ति को जब लिया है युवा ने पहचान, हम सब बने राष्ट्र के रक्षक। आओ करें नव भारत निर्माण, आओ करें भारत निर्माण।
कला योग विज्ञान विधि का विश्वविद्यालय देता ज्ञान, तन मन और जीवन सुचिता का देता है यह शुभ बलिदान।
जन्म लेकर जिस धरा पर शौर्य करता शीश बलिदान,
अपनी मेहनत से माटी को सोना कर दे जहाँ किसान।
हर की धरा हरियाणा पर स्थापित अपना कुल महान। शिक्षा और स्वावलंबन, आओ ऐसे कुल को करे प्रणाम, ऐसे कुल को करे प्रणाम, ऐसे कुल को करे प्रणाम।
Thank you all. So we start the today's 5 days national workshop, and for that I request Professor Gunjan Goyal for his welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja, for this. A very good afternoon to all of you. It's my privilege to welcome you all for this 5 days national workshop on revisiting artisanal foods for bioprospecting probiotics, basics to applied aspects. And this workshop has been sponsored by Probiotic Association of India at the Central University of Haryana. Regarding the foods, as we all know that we are having a rich diversity of food in terms of ethnicity, local available resources, and geographical regions in India, and which leads to production of diverse type of ethnic fermented foods in different parts of India. Starting from, you can say, the idli, or in our region we have rabdi. So this diversity results in more than thousands of artisanal fermented foods throughout the country, which are still far behind from the validation through the scientific and technical methods. As we all know that these are the most of the foods are at the like cottage level or at the homemade methods. Although these foods are appreciated for their nutritional, sensory, organoleptic characteristics, however, the scientific claims of these properties are not very well stood for most of the foods. So that's why we have planned this workshop with the aim to identify the gaps in our current understanding of fermentation dynamics of traditional fermented foods. Like we are located in the region of Mahendragarh, where rabdi, which is a fermented food which has been used at the local level. So we will take that food as a model. And because its method of preparation varies from different households, and this product is not very well explored for the presence of beneficial probiotic cultures. Second objective of this workshop is to provide hands-on training to the participants on preliminary screening of lactic acid bacteria as probiotics, and also to provide training them to prepare a fermented beverage under the controlled laboratory conditions. So I'm sure that the knowledge developed through this workshop will provide the young participants a critical foundation for the basic and applied research efforts to explore our indigenous fermented foods, which can be used to identify indigenous probiotics. As we all know that this workshop is going to be held in hybrid mode, online as well as offline, where the lectures will be conducted online mode and the hands-on practice will be conducted in the laboratory. In today's inaugural session, we will have two experts who are working in the area of probiotic science. The speakers, Dr. Jd Prajapati and Dr. Prakash, will shadow light on the significance of our traditional foods with the health benefits conferred by the probiotic bacteria present in it. And for the all information to all of you, we have the participants from 5 different institutions who are participating in this workshop. So with this word, I welcome you all to welcome you all to this workshop for the 5 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gunjan. So today we are fortunate enough to have our Vice Chancellor, Professor Kumar, among us as a chief guest. And to introduce our chief guest, Professor Kumar, I request Professor Pawan.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर पूजा। आज के हमारे कार्यक्रम के मुख्य अतिथि प्रोफेसर टंकेश्वर कुमार जी, कुलपति हरियाणा केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय महेंद्रगढ़। इससे पहले आप करीब 6 साल तक हिसार के गुरुजम्बेश्वर विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी विश्वविद्यालय के कुलपति रह चुके हैं। इससे पहले आप पंजाब विश्वविद्यालय चंडीगढ़ में भौतिकी के यूजीसी प्रोफेसर और अब्दुल कलाम सेंटर केंद्र के निदेशक के रूप में कार्यरत रहे हैं। आप दीनबंधु छोटूराम विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी विश्वविद्यालय मुरथल और चौधरी बंसीलाल विश्वविद्यालय भिवानी के कुलपति का अतिरिक्त प्रभार का निर्वहन किया है। आपको 35 वर्षों का अनुभव है, जिसमें शिक्षण, अनुसंधान और शैक्षणिक प्रशासन शामिल है। आप पंजाब विश्वविद्यालय के सेनेट और सिंडिकेट के सदस्य हैं। आप राज्य और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर विभिन्न समितियों के सदस्य रहे हैं, जैसे यूजीसी परीक्षा सुधार समिति, देश के प्रथम कौशल विश्वविद्यालय की स्थापना के लिए समिति, योजना बोर्ड, YMCA विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी विश्वविद्यालय फरीदाबाद। आप समय समय पर नए समकक्ष टीमों के अध्यक्ष, सदस्य और कुलपतियों के चयन के लिए खोज समितियों के सदस्य रहे हैं। आपको गोल्डन AIM मोस्ट डेडिकेटेड वाइस चांसलर अवार्ड 2020, विद्यासागर अवार्ड से सम्मानित किया गया है। लाइफ टाइम अचीवमेंट अवार्ड फेडरेशन ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट बॉक्स मैन्युफैक्चरर द्वारा प्रशंसा पुरस्कार, MIT यूनिवर्सिटी द्वारा एजुकेशन लीडरशिप अवार्ड और इनबुश अवार्ड से सम्मानित किया गया है। आप भारतीय शिक्षण मंडल, विज्ञान भारती, सेवा भारती, स्वदेशी जागरण मंच, भारत विकास परिषद और ऐसे अनेक सामाजिक संगठनों से जुड़े रहे हैं। हम आपका स्वागत करते हैं सर। धन्यवाद।
Dr. Pooja sir is here.
Yes, sir, namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. Yeah, am I speaking? I'm supposed to speak? Yeah. Just join.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes. Okay, sir. Yeah. So thank you very much. Yeah, first of all, congratulations to you, all those who are organizing it and those who are participating in it. Yeah, it is a sponsored activity by Probiotic Association of India. It is, the combination of what I see here is food technology and microbiology and others, right? Yeah, it's a matter of pride for us, because if we look at the contribution of the university in the biosciences department is tremendous, and it's we are in the process of inviting more and more people to the university in this era. And I hope that we will be in the combined way. We'll be having a wonderful biosciences department where we can contribute towards the food processing as well as towards the biotechnology need of the country and also the our region. So this today you will be having two important speakers here. I could see that Dr. Jd Prajapati will be there, and Dr. Prakash Alami, Chief Scientist of CSIR. He is from Mysore, that is from the Gujarat. They are contributing toward the rural management and food technology. We also have a the Department of Nutrition Biology. They are also uh, contributing towards this the food technology part, especially they when I have learned that they are filing the patents. They have already filed few patents, three, four patents for this food processing and all that. And it is the need of the hour that our country should go for such things. We have enough food. We have enough food. What I mean is we have enough agriculture output, but it is not in the I will say it is not in still, I say it's not in the organized way that we are growing the food. We are growing the food in the same way, and we have something which is there for another 4 year, 5 years, and there is something which we can grow in our country, and which we are not growing, and we are importing. We are importing from other countries, and that is one of the reason that we are to do much more, and we should connect ourselves to the the food grower also, because once we tell them what is required in the market, and once we tell them that what is shortfall in the country, if they understand, they will try to contribute more to the nation need, and that is the message we should convey to I will say the smallest girls, the food grower for us, so that for example, we more than 80% of the edible oil we import, but we also see that we have other foods which are which is we are all the stocks we are filled is another for 4 5 years if we do not grow, but we still keep on growing and growing, and so that is the way I think it is not only just the doing best of the science, but we should also we should also connect ourselves to the the real growers of the food. So that is my message for this, so that we can also we know that we organize such things in collaboration with the farmers. Also, the other day we have with this bajra growers of this region, we have the workshops, and such things are useful, and I hope that this kind of the program which is being organized by uh, our Professor Sundar Singh ji and Gunjan Goel ji and all his team, all their team, and will be useful for the students as well as the participants from our university, as well as from the other uh, places who are participating. So I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir. It's always our pleasure to listen to you, and thank you so much for your blessings. So now we will start with our speakers. And the first speaker is Dr. Jd Prajapati, and I request Dr. Ashwini from Nutrition Biology Department to introduce our speaker. Dr. Ashwini, please introduce our speaker.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pooja. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jd Prajapati, who is currently working as chairperson, Varghese Kurian Center for Excellence, Institute of Rural Management, Anand. So Professor Prajapati is a dairy technology graduate from Gujarat Agriculture University and a PhD in dairy microbiology from National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal. He retired as a principal and dean of Faculty of Dairy Sciences at Anand Agriculture University with nearly 40 years of experience in education and research. His main area of research is probiotic fermented food. He is a chairman of Indian Dairy Association, Gujarat State Chapter, and coordinator of SESNET Fermented Food. He is a renowned academician and scientist in the area of probiotics and fermented food. He handled a number of research projects sponsored by ICR, DBT, state government, EU, and has more than 500 publication, including 2 textbooks. He has guided 32 MTech and 9 PhD students. He was, awarded Chancellor Gold Medal for being the best student in the university in 1984. He has received 2-time Guest Award and 6-time Best Paper Award. He had Fellowship Award from EU as well as Indian National Science Academy. He is a Fellow of Indian Dairy Association as well as Fellow of National Academy of Dairy Sciences. He is a recipient of Hari Om Ashram Award from Indian Council of Agriculture Research for his outstanding research contribution in probiotics. He is associate editor of International Journal of Fermented Foods, International Journal of Probiotic and Prebiotic, and reviewer for several scientific journals, and serving as an expert member for many universities and institutions. At present, his engagement are member of Governing Council of Gut Microbiota and Probiotic Science Foundation, adjunct professor at Bihar Animal Science University, expert for Export Inspection Council of India, member of scientific panel on milk and milk product of SSSI, what not and what not. So the list is very long. He has widely traveled in Europe and many other countries, and delivered lead talks in many conferences, including IFT, IDF, IPC, AO, AC, ILSI, and has organized several conferences and workshops for building the network on fermented food. He is a life member of several professional bodies, and uh, so in the nutshell, he has very vast experience, and he is an authority to speak on probiotic fermented food. Thank you. Now over to Dr. Pooja.
Thank you, Professor, for an elaborate introduction. At the onset, I also thank Honorable Vice Chancellor of Haryana Central University and my friend Dr. Gujan for inviting me to speak at this symposium workshop. We had a 2 days very extensive presentations on probiotics. Last 2 days, 5th and 6th was a Gut Microbiota Foundation conference, and I just came yesterday night. I've tried to put some slides together today morning, and I'm here before you to talk something on research avenues, what possibilities are there in this area of probiotics and fermented foods. I hope there will be students also to listen to this, and they will get some idea that what kind of research can be taken to further take this area for the benefit of the society. Please give me a minute to share my presentation. That was taking a little bit time. Usually in this WebEx, the screen sharing is a bit difficult. I don't know why it is taking time to open, but it is opening. So we have to link probiotic as well as fermented foods, because we know fermented foods since ancient time, and the probiotic is a new word which we are now talking about. But there is a very, very old linkage of fermented foods with the probiotics, and unknowingly, without giving a name to that, we are consuming it. The classical example of a symbiotic product is Panchamrit, which was popularized by our ancestors and was made a part of all rituals, which contained a good quality dahi, which may be containing probiotic bacteria, and honey, which serves as a prebiotic. And the composite product is a symbiotic. So it is a new name to the very, very, very old symbiotic product which we are consuming. It's surprised that why it is taking such a long time to open the presentation. It is still rotating. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Sir, we can see your screen.
Screen दिखता है ना मगर वो PPT open हो रहा है.
Screen is okay. Screen is visible.
That is why I'm a bit, because I kept it on the desktop, but still. It should not generally happen, but
It's opening, sir.
Okay, because I was trying to call my IT expert, but it is really very slow. This has never happened. Because in this era of computers and very, very fast mobiles, even 1 minute is boring for us.
How are Suja and Haridas?
Yes, they are doing well. Suja is and Haridas both are in Chicago at the moment.
Okay.
At the moment, we have Srija here in Anand and Subrato Hati.
Yes, Subrato Hati. Okay.
And I met quite a few of our common friends yesterday also.
Okay.
Because this time, because of COVID restriction, we are not invited many people, but there were few persons, and Dr. A.K. Srivastava was there.
Okay.
Oh, finally, it has come.
It's open, sir. Yes.
Let us make a slideshow. So I will begin with some introduction. So the first question comes that why probiotics and fermented foods? Definitely, whenever you do something, somebody will ask that why you want to do these things. And the simplest answer to this is that because we want to be happy and healthy with the least effort. I think this statement says it has a deeper meaning. What do you mean by happy and healthy and with least efforts? So we want to reduce the medical costs. We want to have a very good food. We want to enjoy it. And still, we don't want to spend much. So in this category of foods, only the probiotics and fermented foods come, because it will take care of your nutrition. It will also give you a relishable taste which you want, because we have plenty of types of foods which we are habituated to consume, and it will also serve as a medicine. So your medical costs will be reduced. So that is why this is the niche area wherein we want to venture. Especially I put this slide because we are still under the pandemic of COVID-19, and at the moment all the fertile brains of the world are busy in contributing to the society, that how we can help the world to get solutions to this. And especially the medical professionals are busy in finding diagnostics and treatments and vaccines and everything. As a food scientist, is it our responsibility to help the society by giving good foods which will help them to control the present pandemic and maybe in future whatever disease it will come. So we need to work on the strategy to develop novel foods that help boost the immunity and also balance the nutritional requirements. And this will be the real service to the society and to the industry and to the consumers. So because of this, the significance of food scientists and technologists has increased a lot. And you have seen in last 2 years, a number of foods with immuno-boosting properties have been launched by several industries. Why and how the foods gives us immunity is a simple diagram that whatever food you consume, it goes to your gut, and GI tract has the largest surface area from which food is absorbed, and also the mucosal immunity is produced. It is said that more than 70% of immunity comes from your gut, and this immunity is also regulated by the gut microbiota. So, because this flora regulates our innate and adaptive immune homeostasis, and that is how the food is a prime importance for building your immunity. Concerning the microbiota, I have just placed here editorial in Nature that we are married to our gut microbiota. You know that we have more number of cells of microbes than our own human cells. Usually it is in the 1:10 ratio. That means we have 10 times more number of bacterial cells than the human cells. That means a human being is 90% bacteria and only 10% human being. And these bacteria are with us, they are active and they are working. It's not like that something is lying down and then you're working for them. No, they are working for you. They are your active partners. And that is why the importance of gut microbiota has increased in the present time. Our knowledge has increased, and that is why the society has started recognizing the importance of gut flora. I have just put some thing because probiotics and immunity response is very important. We have several other therapeutic benefits, but immunity has become a prime importance nowadays because of this COVID. And that is why I put here 5-6 important points that the immune system protects inside from bad influences that outside, especially the gut. And therefore about 70% of body's immune cells come in the gut. And there is a permanent communication between the microbiota and the gut. And that is why the gut is the prime organ from where the immunity is controlled, and the gut is ultimately controlled by the microflora, and that is ultimately controlled by the food which you consume. So these relations we should not forget, and always remember that we should have a good food. Now coming back to the point that why should fermented foods? There are so many strong points in favor of fermented foods. See, fermented foods are well known since ages. There is nothing new to it. And the whole world knows because it has emerged from several areas of the planet. People have learned art of fermentation for every kind of food materials, like maybe cereals, pulses, milks, fruit, vegetable, fish, everything. And artisan food, which we are talking today, are definitely the beginners of all these kind of things and all kinds of raw materials which are there. They're also very simple to make. They are natural, less energy sensitive, green processes, do not generate waste which can pollute our environment and so. And it's a very good tool to achieve United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 2 and 3, because they offer great potential to tackle the problem of malnutrition, food security, and the health. And as per FAO 2004 estimate, fermented foods contribute about 1/3 of the diet worldwide. So this is a statistics which is given by FAO, and it's an item for which all of us will feel proud who are working in the area of fermented foods. The effects of consumption fermented food depends upon the culture because microbes are very, very important. And the health effects are specific at the strain level. And that is how we make a major difference between a normal fermented foods and a probiotic fermented food. When you want to say probiotic, you have to have a strain which is specific, which gives the benefits. But there are some generic claims like improving gut function, reducing lactose intolerance, improving digestibility of proteins, reducing anti-nutritional binding, immunity, and good health. All this can be applied to any fermented food because these are all generic benefits, and all the fermented foods do give when you consume them. As far as the beginning of probiotics we take a book, The Prolongation of Life, and this has very ancient roots. It's not that Ali Makhnikov told us, but before that, Lord Krishna was the first promoter of probiotics because he promoted that दूध दही उधर मक्खन भी fermentation से होता है, that cow and be happy. Then Makhnikov opened the eyes of the Western scientists that there are flora which are important and which you have to promote. And Minoru Shirota from Japan, 1935, isolated the first strain, Lactobacillus casei strain Shirota. And in our country, as per I know, my boss, guide guru, Dr. G.M. Dave, insisted, based on the study of the reports of Yakult, that in India also we should start work on probiotics. And we started it as early as 1980, isolating the probiotic strains. The concept of probiotic is well known. Probably this group is aware about what do you mean by probiotics. It is pro plus bios, that is in favor of life. And the latest definition is probiotics are live microorganisms that when administered in adequate amounts confer a health benefit on the host. So there are 2-3 things very important in this. First thing is live organisms. मतलब जिंदा रहना जरूरी है. They have to be administered in adequate amounts. How much to consume, I will tell you later. And then it should confirm at least one clinically proven health benefit. If these 3 conditions are satisfied, then only we can call it as a probiotic food. And functional foods have a general meaning that foods that provide at least one functional activity or health benefit or improvement of function apart from providing basic nutrition. So all these foods do provide basic nutrition, but on top of that, they have to have something extra. There are definitions of probiotics, prebiotics, symbiotics, and other things, postbiotics and psychobiotics, and so many things. I will not spend time on that because probably you will be getting notes on the basics of all these things. But many people are using many terminology, but the basics is that we have to understand the healthy bacteria and the healthy ingredients that makes healthy foods, which we call as symbiotics. Many people have started talking about postbiotic, that means the metabolites produced by the organisms where live organisms may not be there. And then nutraceuticals in general that has a medical or health benefits. So they are foods, they are food ingredients, they are food supplements, but not the drugs. So as per the regulatory guidelines, whom we call as probiotic, the FAO-WHO has given guidelines to explain this, and same has been adopted by ICMR DPT in India, and FSSI has also given the same definition in their standards. So only those cultures which fulfills the criteria of survival in GI tract and which has clinically demonstrated some health benefit can be called as probiotic. So any Tom and Harry which is isolated from any source and it is biotolerant or acid tolerant cannot be called as probiotics. It has to have a proven clinical health benefit. This is a decision-making tree about the probiotic foods given by FAO-WHO and also under the ICMR guidelines in India. So when you want to have a probiotic food, first thing is that you should have identified strain and it has been deposited in an international culture collection. In India, we have IMTEC in Chandigarh, where the culture is required to be deposited if you want to market it as a probiotic. And then first thing which you have to do is the safety assessment, either by in vitro test, animal phase 1 study or human study for safety. Primarily that when you consume, you do not cause any adverse effect. And then you have to do functional characterization by in vitro test or other maybe in mice model or something like that. And this includes their survival in GI tract, like bile tolerance, acid tolerance. It is also able to adhere to the intestinal tract or many other things which can have. After this, you have to conduct one double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled phase 2 human trials or other appropriate design with sample size and primary outcome appropriate to determine if strain or product is efficacy. So phase 2 for efficacy study, that yes, it has some clinical effect. If this is done, then only you can term as a probiotic food. इसके बाद अगर आप phase 3 करते हो तो it is good. You can have preferably second trial also. It's also good. But एक करोगे और उसमें कुछ efficacy आएगा, then you can call it as a probiotic food. And then these are the label requirements, labeling, that you have to write the content, that what is the genus, species and strain, minimum number of viable bacteria at the end of shelf life. अगर आपका 2 महीने का shelf life, 2 महीने के end में कितना bacteria viable है, that you have to indicate. And also you have to give the corporate contact numbers and consumer information, so many things. So these guidelines are required to be followed when you are calling any food as a probiotic. Now coming to the research highlights, that which are the drivers which are stimulating the research in the probiotics. First is the scientists, because they want to generate high quality science that has positive impact on society. Second leg is industry, because they want high quality profitable products with validated and understandable claims. उनको जो समझ में आए, सोसाइटी को समझ में आए, ऐसे क्लेम अगर करोगे तो इंडस्ट्री को इंटरेस्ट है. रेगुलेटर्स को भी फायदा है, बिकॉज दे वांट टू प्रोटेक्ट कंज्यूमर्स फ्रॉम मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन. कि आप अच्छे बेनिफिट वाला प्रोडक्ट दे दो, देन इट विल बी गुड फॉर द रेगुलेटर्स, इट विल मीट द स्टैंडर्ड्स. एंड द consumers want reliable information to make informed decisions. And as I told initially, they want to be happy and healthy with the least efforts. In this diagram, I have put some of the generic health benefits of probiotics. I am sure somebody is going to talk on health benefits of probiotics, and that is why I will not try to spend time on this. But probiotics have become a buzzword now. Earlier, we were just talking their application only in the intestinal tract for curing diarrhea or constipation, and then probably some of the pathogens which come in the intestine, maybe salmonella, Shigella. But now they are being applied for any disease you name, and there will be some paper on probiotics on that. Yesterday we are talking about autism, especially in the children. It's a new application. We had papers on psychobiotics and mental stress relieving, or also in the children, and so many things. So these things are very common, and day by day, more and more number of papers are coming. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a list of papers in different areas. In this chart, I have put in one everything for the research scholars who want to work, who want to do research in the probiotics and fermented foods. What is required is all listed here in these 20 points. So it starts with isolation of novel strains, and we have a good source of novel strains from our artisan goods. We had a couple of projects with Northeast in Meghalaya, and we could isolate several strains which has really good benefit, and some of them have been very good producer of ACE inhibitory peptides, which will help to make drugs for hypertensive people. Similarly, there are so many other foods from different states and different regions. Then you need to develop tools, methods, and other diagnostics for characterization of potential probiotics. Now, simply bile and phenol and acid tolerance करोगे तो नहीं चलेगा. You have to have little bit better methods in these things. Third is substrate for probiotic cultivation. Synthetic media do not work because you want to take as a food product. So you have to have a food but edible grade media where you can raise high amount of biomass of the probiotics. For example, whey-based media is the best one which we are using at the moment also for Lactobacillus Plantarum. Similarly, you have to go for product formulations. A lot of work is required in technology. I see so many papers on genetic characterization improvement. And we have now good tools which can do these things. Probiotics and gut microbiome of body organs. Earlier, we were just talking about the gut microbiome, but now we study the microbiome study of vagina, microbiome study of oral cavity, microbiome of skin, microbiome of altered patients like say diabetic persons and non-diabetic persons. So huge opportunity still lies in study of microbiome. Animal studies for verification of therapeutic effects, yes, because therapeutic has a good potential in animal also, as well as animals as the laboratory models for simulating the human studies. Fermentation studies, kinetics, we need to study to make product palatable and also shelf stable and also have a larger number of viable bacteria. Metabolites and study of postbiotics. These are also a great field which is developing. We want to isolate bacteriocins के ऊपर बहुत सारा काम हुआ. Now we are going for specific peptides isolation of that and then applying as a therapeutic agent or a pharma grade agents. Phase 2 studies for several clinical effects is still required. We have very limited studies. Phase 1 human studies for safety काफी लोगों ने अभी तक नहीं किया. It has to be done. Genetic characterization improvement, I think it has come again. In vitro test to establish probiotic candidature, there are still needed to refine this test. Therapeutic applications has unlimited future. You can go on working on several aspects. Nutritional aspects, very few people have tried to do. See, we are taking this granted that nutrition is good, but we have not focused still on enriching it for vitamins, enriching it in certain kind of amino acids, enriching in its increasing availability of minerals like calcium and magnesium and so, or maybe iron, so that it will have applications in different kinds of patients. We can study overexpression of metabolites and preparation of pharmaceuticals, as I told. Ingredient formulations, industry is looking for this, that what can be done. Shelf life studies, improving viability of cells in products and gut, and influence on gut metabolites and other secretions. So large number of areas in which the research can be taken. I hope you are listening because my screen, this is one-way communication. Gunjan, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes. It's visible. Everything is okay.
Because this is one of the disadvantage of online lecturing. अगर सामने बैठे हैं तो देख सकते हैं कि people are sleeping or not sleeping like that.
No, sir, we are here.
Anyway, being a technologist, I have just presented here a diagram that what kind of products are prepared and what can be called as probiotic and what cannot be called as non-probiotic. So in general, without defined culture, the products are called non-probiotics. But when you have defined cultures, you can have probiotic drugs, medical foods, probiotic foods, and non-oral probiotics, probiotic for animal feed, defined microbial consortia, dietary supplements, infant formula, and so on. But as far as the food application is concerned, there are three avenues, probiotics, foods and beverages, which can be consumed directly. जैसे दही है, छाछ है, बटर मिल्क है. Probiotic food ingredients, that means you have the probiotic microorganisms concentrated form, and then you add as an ingredient in varieties of foods, maybe in fruit juices or many other things. And third thing is probiotic food supplements. That means this can be consumed as directly as food, as a supplement, maybe in the breakfast or something, or you can add it, blend it with some other food and then consume it. So as a technologist, these probiotics can be used in the diet in different ways. As far as the global functional food market is concerned, there is a very good, bright future. And you can see that India is not lagging behind. Probably it is on the top of the forecasting growth rate, 9.8% as compared to any other country. Narrowing down to the probiotic market, in the probiotic category, the functional foods and beverage category, it will be 8.2%. Dietary supplements, 8.84%. Animal feed, 7.41%. So this was a bit old of 2016, but at present the situation has further improved, and we are expecting around 10% growth in the global probiotic market. And there are so many innovations coming from several companies, and especially last 2 years, the growth in probiotic has been boosted because of the demand of immune boosting foods. The Indian scenario, you can see the graph is increasing up to 2022. I have presented 20. Now, if you see 21, 22, it is much higher than these things. The quantum jump is higher, and we have expected growth rate of 20%. That means in next 5 years, the probiotic market will double. Probiotic foods mainly, and in this category, the market for probiotic cultures will also increase, starter cultures will also increase. But unluckily, at the moment, we do not have much Indian cultures, and that is why if you can isolate from artisan foods and develop it as a commercial application, it has a very good demand, because at the moment we are using 90% probiotic cultures. Only these 2-3 companies are contributing, which are imported. I just summarize the history of probiotics in India. We have strong history of use of probiotics in India. We have huge talent and vast experience. कोई कमी नहीं है. बहुत सारे scientists हैं, बहुत सारे experienced persons हैं. And the positive thing that we have a rich biodiversity. See, the Western countries or European countries, the climate is so that it is very difficult for them to isolate an organism. But we are in India, you go anywhere, you take any food and you will find a very good organisms. So हमारा जो benefit है, we have plant biodiversity, food diversity, climate diversity, and that can be harnessed to get good cultures. There are several institutions into probiotic research. We started in 1982 and 82, promising with beneficial lactic acid bacteria, and here a kernel also started at the same time. At the present, in my opinion, about 50 universities and institutions are working on probiotics and prebiotics. However, most of the work is in isolation characterization based on in vitro test. There are few strains which have gone to animal studies, and there are still few strains which have gone to human clinical studies. I think we can count that only 2 or 3 strains, for example, MTCC 5463 from Anand, has gone for at least 3-4 clinical trials in that. So we need to have a human clinical trials into that. I have just pointed out some stumble blocks in the probiotic growth in India. इतना जल्दी क्यों spread नहीं हो रहा है जितना होना चाहिए? First thing is lack of awareness, education in the society. People do not know that what is probiotic and how it can be beneficial. Society को भी नहीं पता है, medical professionals को भी नहीं पता है. I suggested that MBBS education should have one course on probiotic foods and probiotic drugs, so that doctors will also prescribe. But still, it is not there, and that is why we need to. You'll be happy to know that the Substrate Fermented Foods and Gut Microbiota Foundation is organizing one probiotic awareness quiz on 21st of March. I will send the brochure to Dr. Gunjan, but it is for the school children. So those who are in contact with the school principals, please share it. It is for class 9th and 11th standard, because the education starts from there, that they should know that what is good food and what is not good foods. So if they are educated at that level, when they grow, they will definitely have better choices of probiotics and fermented foods. We have still least focus on preventive healthcare. हमारा भी ब्रेकडाउन मेंटेनेंस चलता है. लोगों को बीमार होते हैं तो सीधा हॉस्पिटल जाते हैं, मगर बीमार न हो इसके लिए कुछ काम नहीं करते. And that we have to learn that prevent. If you prevent, then you will be least hospitalized. No noise by the industry. Industry भी कहाँ publish नहीं, advertising नहीं करते, except Yakult. Nobody is advertising probiotic foods, even though many other companies are making probiotic foods. They are not advertising. Regulations are still not clear. We have some difficulties in maintaining the live bacteria. I will tell what is the status in FSSI. No promotion for indigenous probiotic strains. There is no benefit given to anybody who is working on indigenous strains. And there is a poor industry-academia relationship. There improve, but this was also not good. So these are some of the stumble blocks. And this is also the area of research. So scholars, please note this thing that I have presented this slide because with intention here. When academia or industry relations come, it is not only for probiotics or foods or other things, but for many things. Industry को क्या है कि they are skeptic about the Indian food industry. They have a lack of trust in the universities and research institutions. शायद past में हुआ होगा, अभी तो improve. Lack of patience. वो कोई research project देते और कल उसका result outcome मांगते कि चलो लाओ क्या हुआ, वो possible नहीं होता. उसके लिए they have to wait for a year or 2 or long term की तो बात छोड़ो. The Indian industry takes hesitation in taking risks, trials. R&D जैसा कोई अभी समझता नहीं है, except some multinationals. They are unwilling to invest in R&D and innovation. We can do definitely copy from others, but we don't want to invest into that. Similarly, academia is also not that good. Here is a lack of clear policy for technology transfer. काफी सारी यूनिवर्सिटी में अभी कुछ क्लियर नहीं कि अगर कुछ ट्रांसफर करना है तो कैसे करने का. Lack of motivation to the scientist to work for industry. Restriction on university scientists to be a partner in industry. Lack of confidence, खास करके young scientists. So there are some stumble blocks on both the sides, and that is why we need to improve the situation. I'll give some examples of products here on which the novel products can be developed. See, we have a traditional category of fermented and non-fermented products, and then same thing can be made as probiotic. आगे लगा तो probiotic हो जाएगा. And there are several blends, fusion foods with combination of milk, fruits, vegetables that can go into probiotic category, and it can be worked out. So these are just some example. I have just taken a dairy based. Similarly, there are so many non-dairy based foods which can be taken forward for this thing. There are some companies who are there into probiotic foods, but in India we have very limited: Amul, Nestle, Mother Dairy, Yakult, and a few more in probiotic food market. So there is a need to increase, and I now see that some startups have started working on that, but still we are far from the demand which is going to be generated in our country. I have presented here 2-3 studies which are specific as immune boosters. Especially as far as preventing upper respiratory tract infections are concerned, which is related to COVID. The study was done in 2015 with 3,270 participants, and it has given the result that it is helping. So there was no harm in using probiotics, and Chinese people started, they advise use of probiotics to the patients in the COVID. However, we are a little bit skeptic, and we are not recommending, but that is because of the unawareness. So the second is a new one, 2020 का है, enhancing immunity to viral infections with special emphasis on COVID. 43 studies हुआ है, and which was positive roles of nutrients, probiotics in enhancing immunity. मतलब 43 studies COVID के ऊपर हो चुका है, and that shows that it is effective. Similarly, in 2017 का एक study है with probiotic Shirota strain, Yakult का, that is also helpful in upper respiratory tract infections. Similarly, decreased number of fever, defecations, and duration of fever with continuous intake of fermented milk drinks. ये भी 2009 का. तो 2-4 study है, it indicates that it has good applications in immunity boosting. This is a paper on reduction in viral infections in athletes. See, 27% less subject consuming probiotic experience 1 hour more over weeks with URTA symptoms compared to placebo. That means there is a significant effect of lowering the urinary tract infections. So the second infections, you can see that salivary immunoglobulin A concentration was significantly higher in probiotic group. You can see the LCS, the red bars. Red bars were higher as compared to the control groups where they were not given this probiotic. Similarly, the infections in elderly group also you can see that consumption of Lactobacillus has reduced the chances of urinary tract infection. You can see the reduction, the red bar. The red bar everywhere is lower than the control. Showed very good effect in the elderly people. Similarly, risk of cancer also, you can see the red bars, it is reducing the LCS, while the control is higher, placebo. So those who are given this probiotic, the risk of cancer has decreased. Now coming back to the regulatory requirements, the FSSI has also published standards and it has come in force since 2020. And in this, they have listed 28 species which can be called as probiotics. But only day before yesterday, I heard the CEO of FSSI, and he has requested us that we want to revise this list and also want to make these standards a little bit more simpler so that industry is motivated. So the revision is process is now in progress. But at the moment, these 28 strains can only be called as probiotics. And the word probiotic food, genus, species, and strain is to be used. Viable number at the end of the shelf life should be given. And at the moment, it is terraced to 8 cells per gram. Recommended serving size to be given. We have to write not for medical use, and also a warning of any other precautions to be taken, because this causes special category of food. So this is mandatory as per FSSI if you want to sell a probiotic food. I will just spare 2-3 minutes in the work which I have done at AAU. We started from isolation, identification of the cultures and absolute different food matrices and developing technologies for that, and then evaluating the selected product for therapeutic use. And we have at the moment about 10 cultures which have been deposited at IMTech Chandigarh as Indian patent deposits. These are the cultures which are there available in IMTech. We adapt the strategy of concentrating on viability and stability of the products, and product must have excellent sensory attributes and the shelf life. So this was our product design concept. And we develop product as ingredient, as adjunct culture, as well as starter. And the product formats were set products like dahi, stud products like lassi, beverage like buttermilk, popular products like raita, and also the dried formulations as well as the tablets and capsules and the things and powders. So these are in a nutshell on which we have worked, and there are a number of products developed. At the moment, there are 3 organizations working in probiotics in India. Probiotic Association of India, which is a partner in this today's workshop. The Substrate Fermented Foods, Swedish South Asian Network of Fermented Foods, which was established in 2003. And then Gut Microbiota and Probiotic Foundation of India, which is working in this promotion of probiotic science. As far as Substrate Fermented Foods is concerned, it was established in 2001, registered in 2008, and at present we have 408 members to this. And it involves association of researchers, professionals, academicians, food industry personnel, and all those who are interested in research, development, and promotion of fermented foods, especially for public health and social living. So this is the tagline. Just last couple of slides. So our strategic plan for the network is to develop membership. We have created website, newsletter, journal, International Journal of Fermented Foods is being published. We do regional seminars. We develop database, publication of handbooks. We want to develop center of excellence and the model plant for. The last conference we did was in Sri Lanka in last December. So Sustained fermented foods is a friend of the food scientists, connecting fermented foods to health status and social being, and a source of information for food industry, and is authority on Indian fermented foods. And there are some of the companies which are promoted by the Sustained fermented foods. And the Hildur is now marketing in India. These are some of the pictures of the probiotic foods in India. And this is what I wanted to just highlight. I have taken these papers from the website of Gut Microbiota and Probiotic Science Foundation, just to give a information of the diversity of research which you do. See, I have highlighted in red. Say, anti-Helicobacter pylori, the research on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, the research on low birth weight infants, the regulation of weight, in obesity, in oral probiotics. और लेक्चर चाले छे other. Then also useful in managing childhood diarrhea, also in bone disorders, periodontal diseases, urinary infections, and also with neuropathic bladder, gastroenteritis, gastroenteritis, reflux of esophagitis. This is just an example. Only these are the papers of 2019. Asymptomatic ulcerative colitis and probiotics in dermatology, relieving stress, pediatric antibiotic associated diarrhea, controlling overweight, obesity, atopic dermatitis, necrotizing enterocolitis, metabolic syndromes. So many things: glucose lipid metabolism, PTM infants, and then also inflammatory bowel disease, food allergy, also autism related interviews, antibiotic resistance. You can just look to the website of the Gut Foundation and you will get the list of all these publications. Stress and anxiety, prevention and control of obesity, severe diarrhea children, protect malnourished children, improves intestinal permeability, lactose intolerance, atopic dermatitis, gastrointestinal, diabetes mellitus. So the applications are unlimited. So scholars, please note and see all these papers of only last 1 year. It has so many avenues for you to do research. And in this last slide, now I'm concluding 4 or 5 points. That the current research in the area of probiotic fermented functional foods is focusing on intestinal microbiome and obtaining genomic data from starter cultures and probiotics. So genomic में काफी सारा work हो रहा है. Immunomodulation, effects on lifestyle diseases, especially diabetes, obesity, and hypertension. ये 3 पे काफी सारा काम हो रहा है. Gut-brain axis are the emerging areas of research in fermented foods with probiotics. Nutrigenomics and metabolomics are rapidly developing new bodies of knowledge that will change future research and practice in human nutrition. Era will come, we'll have a personalized nutrition. So this will require technologies who can develop food products for personalized nutrition and taste. So आपके लिए अलग फूड है, गुंजन के लिए अलग फूड होगा, मेरे लिए अलग फूड होगा, तो डॉक्टर प्रिस्क्राइब करेगा वो खाना खाना पड़ेगा, ऐसा जमाना आएगा. This entire field of functional foods on human well-being requires advanced research from many areas of expertise, and that can be done by developing networks in collaborative. Nobody can do research in isolation. We have to work in a collaborative mode, and that is why networking is essential. And that is why we have established Sustained fermented foods, and you are welcome to join this network, which will promote the research and development work on fermented foods for health and benefits. So with this, I end my talk. Showing my gratitude to my mentor, Lord Krishna, is the first promoter and brand ambassador of dairy. He promoted that दूध, दही, घी, मक्खन खाओ और खिलाओ, beg, borrow or steal, चोरी करके भी खाओ, but be healthy. And that is why he is my guru. I don't advise that चोरी करके खाओ, because develop करो खुद and then give it to the society and to the industry. So with this, I thank you, Professor Gunjan and the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Central University of Haryana and all those organizers who has given me chance to talk. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take. Otherwise, as the organizers feel. So thank you and goodbye from me.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Dr. Jd Prajapati, for such a wonderful and informative lecture. I guess our viewers, they might have gathered information about this lecture you have talked about. So now in the next series, we do have next speaker is Dr. Prakash Halami. I
Questions
request
we can
Dr.
take
Jitendra
later on.
Saini to introduce our. So yes, related to question, I have a request to all the participants that there will be a question answer session after the speaker's talk, and you can type your questions, and then Dr. Jitendra Saini will take care of the question answer session. So next we do have speaker Dr. Prakash Halami, and I request Dr. Jitendra Saini to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja. So it is my pleasure to introduce and read the CV of Dr. Prakash Halami, who is a chief scientist and professor at ACSIR. He is currently the head microbiology and fermentation technology department, as well as head department of food protectants and infestation control. He is also a nodal officer of the COVID-19 testing center at CFTRI. And besides that, besides the research experience for more than 3 decades, he has also the HRD. He is also involved in the HRD activities, and he is also serving as an expert advisor of Akshay Patra Research Lab in Bangalore, and he is a member of the technical committee of FSSAI India of New Delhi, and he is the convener and member of the Bureau of Indian Standards New Delhi, and is representing several committees at the institute level also. He started his research journey by pursuing his PG in molecular biology and biotechnology from NCPB at IRI New Delhi, and doctorate in biotechnology from the University of Mysore. He also obtained advanced training in biotechnology from Kobe University, Japan, and doctoral degree research at the University of Frankfurt, Germany. He also has the postdoctoral experience at USA at the University of Minnesota, where he joined as a Raman Research Fellow. His laboratory investigates the mechanism of food-grade metabolite production by the microorganisms using the classical microbiology approaches and by using tools of the genomics. His research activities include deciphering the mechanism and transferability of antibiotic resistant genes in the probiotic, development of defined starter cultures, and molecular taxonomy, etc. His research on antibiotic resistance has been recognized by WHO India by inducting him in preparation of National Action Plan, AMR, that is, as well as he also was associated with FAO India office for the evaluation of ICMR and ICAR projects on the antimicrobial resistance. He has so far guided 80 postgraduate students and
बात करना
11
शुरू करो तुम्हारी साइड ऐसे देखेगा देख ऐसे देखेगा थोड़ी देर बाद तुम्हारी साइड
nearly 115 publications in peer-reviewed international journals, and he also has 4 Indian patents to his credit. He has presented more than 175 papers at various conferences, out of which, remarkably, he has won 22 Best Paper Awards. He is also the editor of the Journal of Food Science and Technology. And talking about the awards which he has won, so he has won 2 times the CSIR CFTRI Foundation Day Award in the year 2013 and 19. And he has won the international travel grant from various funding agencies like ICMR, SURB-DST, CSIR, Fast Track Young Scientist Program of DST. He is also a recipient of Lalji Gudu Smarak Nidhi Award of AFST India for the year 2013. And he has won the CSIR DART Exchange of Academics for the year 2019 and 2015. He has also been elected as a fellow of many academies like Indian Academy of Microbiological Sciences in 2016 and fellow of National Academy of Biological Sciences, fellow of Royal Society of Biology, fellow of Biotech Research Society of India, and he has also been awarded with Best Scientist Award of NABS in 2018. He has also won the Senior Scientist Award at the national level by the Microbiologists Society of India. And during the last 10 years, he has been quite active in delivering the seminars and lectures, wherein in total he has given nearly 75 lectures in both national and international platforms, including 15 webinars. So with his vast experience, I'm sure that he will be encouraging the students. So without much delay, I now invite Dr. Prakash Alami for his lecture. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good
Can you
afternoon,
hear
sir.
me, sir? Dr. Gunjan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Wonderful. Yeah, actually, we were unable to hear very clearly the initial introduction. I hope now it is quite audible.
This is your quite audible, Dr. Prakash.
Wonderful, wonderful. So share करना है ना. नहीं ये फुल स्क्रीन करना है ना.
Slides are visible, sir.
Sir, can you see my second slide? Dr. Gunjan, can you see
Yes.
my second slide?
No, it's first one. Still, we are having the first slide.
Just a minute, huh?
Okay.
कहाँ लग गया था उसने रिमोट?
आपके स्क्रीन के नीचे के लेफ्ट कॉर्नर में वो नेक्स्ट बार है. इट विल नॉट वर्क विथ माउस और कीबोर्ड. स्क्रीन में से माउस से करना पड़ेगा. मूविंग द स्लाइड्स.
Yeah, yes, sir. Now it's working.
It is not going to the second slide. Second slide.
Maybe, sir, you can try to move the slides. It's stuck.
No, you don't worry. I will just ask him whether it is first slide or not. Professor Gunjan, can you see my first slide?
We can see, sir,
Hello?
the slide is blank. The slide is blank with yellow color and bubbles. It is this one.
Sir, can you see my first slide?
Not the first slide with the title. It's a blank slide, sir.
It's
But
black.
we are looking.
Projector is not working, you put it up, we just see here, but why I'm seeing here 3 points, 3 presentations. So that can be the one topic. You should have only one. You see?
Yes. Now we can see the slide, sir.
Sir, can you see my slide now?
Yes, now they are visible.
I can't hear you actually.
It's visible now, sir.
It's
Unable
visible,
to
sir.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, sir. They are visible. The slides are visible.
And you are audible also.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And slides are also moving. Yeah. Now you can see the third slide, right?
Yes, doctor.
And this is the first slide.
You are also clearly audible.
Okay. And you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, very clearly audible.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Slides are also moving. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very nice to see a large number of delegates in this national workshop. After a very brief and impressive talk by Professor Jd Prajapati, I don't think much things are left for me to talk. Where sir is talking not only from last 2 days at Delhi, but his 20-30 years of experience on the fermented food and then probiotics. Inspiring personality for us, for most of the probiotics workers, for the SASNET members, for Probiotic Association of India members. So at the outset, I would like to thank Professor Gunjan Goyal for giving me this invitation to deliver a lecture. And my topic of presentation is potential probiotics from fermented food, strain-specific health benefits. We have started from last 10-15 years this aspect to work in CFTRI. One is the fermented food and how within the species or at the strain level, the health benefits can be claimed. Just to tell the story in a short, that we basically work on the 2 group of microorganisms for their probiotic application. One is the probiotic that colonizes in the smaller intestine, belongs to Lactobacillus Plantarum and Lactobacillus Fermentum, where I will be focusing most of that in this presentation. And another one is Bifidobacterium, which colonizes in the large intestine or in a colon and provides the health benefits. We are very close to the clinical trial studies of some of these potential probiotics, which I hope this conference delegates will appreciate, and I will be able to justify this invitation particularly. Very happy moment to talk at the platform of Central University, Haryana, Mahendragarh, because Professor, what is his name? Our microbiology professor was a vice chancellor previously. So very great occasion to talk.
Professor
At the outset, I would like to congratulate the organizers for arranging this 5 days national workshop and choosing a very important and right topic, revisiting artisanal foods for bioprospecting probiotics. Several lectures actually are delivered on the bioprospecting of microorganisms or metabolites or value-added compounds, And very important that how we actually can bring the basic science into the applied application. And this is what actually the technology readiness level, which has a prime importance in a CSIR system these days. The technology readiness level starts with the 1 and reaches somewhere 7 or 9. Tell basically how our any technology developed from the microbial origin or from the any science or technology field has a different segments, And most of our actually work starts from the basic because we look to screen several potential probiotics organisms. As a life member of Probiotic Association of India again, I am very actually happy. And I hope my last slide again will features the activities pertaining to the Probiotic Association of India. I hope those who visited Mysore and visited CFTRI, they will remember this Chelomba mention. 2025, we will be completing a platinum jubilee of this institute. So 1950s, and next year actually CFTRI is celebrating International Year of Millet. Last translational research department in this institute, where we dig out the natural fermentation processes, the microorganisms involved in that, the metabolite they produces, how their industrial production can be done, the organic acid productions. And now microbiology is basically combined with the fermentation technology aspects. So the scale-up studies, the downstream processing, the large-scale production, and then several other aspects, starting with the toxin, especially the aflatoxin, with reference to the detection, development of a detection kits, and the development of a detection tool again for the pathogens. From that angle, we actually undertake a skill development program in this department, sponsored by MSME on food safety and fermentation. Just to tell about this was actually article a month back was there in the Deccan Herald, how actually several fermented food has a importance in modulating the gut microbiota, refilling our gut with the beneficial microorganisms, refilling our gut with the metabolite they produces, the vitamins, the minerals, detoxification of the toxins, and their continuous supply. Today, important to talk on this aspect because our food habit is changing. We go more towards the synthetic food. We go towards the food consuming with a minimum fermentations. We go eat more with the less the microorganisms. So those food basically are responsible for diminishing the microbial diversity in our gut. And that's why diminishing in the microbial diversity in the gut is associated with large number of lifestyle diseases. And this is what actually CFTRI actually is focusing these days, how lifestyle diseases can be combated, how malnutrition can be, nutrition can be combated, how cardiovascular, the blood pressure, the diabetics. So all these are actually a major problem associated, what we call them as a diseases of the modern era. I hope I will be actually able to justify what do you mean by the strain specific. I was actually unable to join initially when Prajapati sir was talking. Otherwise, I think the strain specific of the each probiotic culture, and I was just wondering actually how actually I justify my talk. So with reference to the strain specific, when I have seen the information in the Google, we see at least these two home pages, the health benefits probiotics are strain specific. Okay, are the strain specificity is vital for probiotic efficacy. Okay. So in this respect, I see this pyramid where you will see the strain-specific probiotic means what. So this is actually a review article from Pauline Hills. We see in the bottom of this pyramid the widespread common properties. With several genera of Lactobacilli, the several genera of Bipedal. Then we go more with reference to the species. Why you have to actually look the Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. Why we have to look the Lactobacillus casei, at that level? Why we have to look the Bifidobacterium animalis BB12 culture? Okay, so they actually provide the information, vital molecules, health benefits, which are enlisted here, like vitamin synthesis or direct antagonism or gut barrier or reinforcement and several others. Within that, if we want to look the specific property, the specific effect, and this is what actually we look for the particular trait within the species, which can have a direct health benefit with reference to the neurological disorder. Professor Jd Prajapati sir was telling about the gut-brain axis, which is the culture which we look actually for the neurological disorders, like the diseases associated with the gut-brain axis, the diseases like the autism is there, or immunological properties, or endocrinological, or the production of specific bioactive, So with this aspect, I just wanted to tell that we actually have, as I told initially, that we have worked out probiotics which were obtained from a naturally fermented dairy products, vegetable products. Okay, and in this book, we have actually summarized some of this information, the probiotics from fermented food, especially from the fermented vegetables, and then we actually studied the bifidobacterial probiotics, how they can be actually supplemented through the fermented food. Okay, so this is what actually the information from our side is. I hope in the workshop like this, which exclusively talks about the probiotics, not needed to define, but this is what actually the definitions given, of the probiotics, which basically talks about the live microorganisms that when administered in an adequate amount confers health benefits on the host. Okay, and how the live biotherapeutic product differs. So live biotherapeutic products here, it is defined as the biological product that contains live microorganisms and is applicable for prevention, treatment, or cure. Probiotics are not meant for the curing, most of them, So this live biotherapeutics has an application for the treatment purpose, for the curing the disease. However, the probiotics is for the prevention. And now, whatever we are actually looking in this workshop, with reference to the probiotics, their isolation from the basic studies, taking up there for the application, as I told in the different phases of technology readiness level, we supposed to have or follow the guidelines described in our ICMR DBT. Okay, and related to this aspect, the Gut Microbiota Foundation, which is actually working very hard, and just yesterday they have concluded the 12th annual conference also on this. So beside FAO/WHO's guidelines, the ICMR DBT guidelines are very much crucial for evaluation of the probiotics in a food. Okay. In the probiotics era, we see the several similar terminologies like the prebiotics is there, symbiotic is there, paraprobiotic is there, immunogenic is there, biogenic amines, biogenics is there. So the prebiotics, as everyone knows, the non-digestible carbohydrate which is exclusively being fermented by the probiotic organisms, or the symbiotic, the probiotics, and then prebiotics, the paraprobiotics again, deals with the metabolites which are secreted by the probiotic organisms, and then the other molecules which actually induces immune response, like immunogenic is there, or biogenics, like the metabolites which the organism they secretes. Okay. As far as the history of probiotics, definitely goes from the kefir, the yogurt, and another several. Since we do not have a specific documents with relation to our fermented products, we do not have the scientific validation of our fermented products, and the slide which is the paper which is published, this slide is, has not considered the work where the Indian fermented food has a therapeutic property. So that's why perhaps has not been incorporated here. But nevertheless, we see as a history of a probiotic starting with the kefir grains, very common, the yogurt, at least with reference to supplementing the lactic acid bacteria. The postures work with reference to the spoilage by the lactic acid bacteria, and then subsequently the Illy-Metchnikoff, which is actually the foundation associated with drinking the fermented milk by the Bulgarian peasant, which was actually associated with the longevity of life. And the reason was because they were suppressing the putrefying bacteria. And this is what actually, the health benefits of probiotics are the live lactic acid bacteria has emerged. And we are actually able to identify subsequently, in 1935, the Lactobacillus Shirota's culture identified by Professor Shirota and developed subsequently this Yakult product. And then we have the history, it goes again till launching the Activa product, in US, which comprises, along with the lactic acid bacteria, the Bipedal also. So in the probiotics, as I told, we have basically the two group of microorganisms, as I told in my previous slide, the Lactobacillus group and then Bipedobacter group. Now I will quickly go with reference to our research activity. So as I told that our research actually focuses mostly on the two group of microorganism. One is the bacteria, which has role in gut microbial homeostasis in a colon. So this is actually, I am talking about the Bifidobacteria. And another one is the Lactobacillus Plantarum and Lactobacillus Fermentum. The fourth organism which I am going to talk here is the Lactobacillus Bacillus licheniformis or Bacillus plexus group. As far as the Bifidobacterial research is concerned, we started somewhere in 2012 in one of the CSIR network project, and we could actually develop the two important technology. One is the Bifidocurd and another is the soya curd. Since these cultures are isolated from the small infant, and being cultured in our laboratory in the milk media, and then product is developed. So this is, I am not included in my presentation. More importantly is the Lactobacillus Plantarum, which is actually obtained isolated from the fermented vegetables, which I will be presenting subsequent slides. And then Lactobacillus Fermentum. Lactobacillus Fermentums were isolated from the human feces as well as from the dairy product. The utility or the novelty of Lactobacillus Fermentum is concerned because they have actually high acid and bile tolerance property, and we have such a range of Lactobacillus Fermentum culture which has actually recently been renamed. Lactobacillus Plantarum has been recently renamed. Some of the bacillus culture we isolated from the fermented food that belongs to the Bacillus licheniformis, and they are also a potent probiotic cultures in addition to their ability to produce a strong antibacterial substances. Okay. So just quickly to tell about the probiotics from the vegetable origin, this was actually the project I had in a collaboration with Professor Jd Prajapati from Sikkim Central University, and then we have analyzed the microflora from the fermented vegetables of the fermented radish, that is the sinki, fermented bundruk, that is from the cauliflower cabbage, then the fermented bamboo shoots like the hiring, or the kalpi like a fermented cucumber, and the predominant potential probiotic lactic acid bacteria which we isolated and characterized, they are enlisted here, belongs to most of them Lactobacillus Plantarum group, and all this culture we deposited at microbial culture collection at NCCS Pune. We really wanted to study the diversity of this Lactobacillus Plantarum group, and then what we have actually seen was that we used the RAPD technique to classify all this Lactobacillus Plantarum group, and rapidly we could classify them in a 4 or 5 distinct RAPD group. And this actually has helped us to rapidly identify the similar species, rapidly identify the strains, which are unique. So this our methodology has helped us to resolve the issue of misidentification in the Lactobacillus Plantarum group, because the Lactobacillus Plantarum group has a very high diversity, and such diversity was not studied or evaluated in a Lactobacillus Plantarum obtained from vegetable origins. We checked the functional attributes of these cultures with reference to the cholesterol reducing, antioxidant and pathogen exclusion property. We specifically looked actually why the Lactobacillus plantarum has a higher adherence compared to any other lactic acid bacteria. As I told, that Lactobacillus species, genus, being a acid and bile tolerance, and colonizes in the smaller intestine, how their actually adherence happens. So we exclusively studied the mucin binding protein in Lactobacillus plantarum group, and what did we do is that we actually amplified the MUB domain from those Lactobacillus plantarum group. And then study was really interesting because we see such a high diversity of this MUB domain of the Lactobacillus plantarum. What does this indicate? That different Lactobacillus plantarum has different number of a MUB domain repeats. This information actually was first time I reported from our laboratory, and we subsequently studied the MUB domain expression level, and we could see the more number of MUB domain is responsible for higher expression of the MUB gene. So you can actually see the 4 number of the MUB domain exhibits the higher relative expression by the real-time PCR. So this actually clearly tells that there is a strain level variation in the MUB domain that we have observed in a Lactobacillus plantarum obtained from the vegetable origin. And why this MUB domain? Because MUB domain is responsible for a better adherence and colonization of this bacteria to the gastrointestinal tract, and this colonization has importance with reference to exhibiting the probiotic property, displacing the pathogen, and inducing the immune response also. So you can actually very clearly see, we actually studied the MUB domain distribution in a FAM database, and then we could see that few of our cultures which we have isolated has a two distinct MUB domain like D7 and D9, which was reported previously only in the genome sequence culture. But we have actually experimentally proven that the Lactobacillus plantarum, which we have in our laboratory, has these unique sequences. In addition to that, we actually studied the anti-inflammatory and pro-inflammatory gene expression in the CACO2 cells, and then we could see that the two of these cultures were very prominent in reducing the pro-inflammatory cytokines and inducing the anti-inflammatory cytokines. This clearly suggests that immunomodulatory potential of these cultures when they were studied in the cell line. In addition to that, we studied the LPS index and the pathogen invention, wherein we were able to see how the adhesion of this probiotic culture is associated with the down regulation of inflammatory cytokines such as the TNF alpha and range of other interleukins also. So this clearly tells that this culture has the ability to inhibit the pathogen, to induce the immune response, and to suppress the pro-inflammatory cytokines. I am switching now from the Lactobacillus plantarum into the Lactobacillus fermentum. And here actually I enlisted exclusively the culture which are isolated in our laboratory from the dairy sources. We isolated from the human feces also Lactobacillus fermentum. And the previous work was actually in the DBT funded twinning program project carried out in a collaboration with Professor Japit Amang. This work was actually carried out in ICMR funded project on the probiotics. Here we were basically looking for a probiotic marker genes using the tools of the genomics. So several such Lactobacillus Plantarum were characterized, and especially we were actually taken subsequently for further studies the Lactobacillus Fermentum, which is now renamed again, Lactobacillus Fermentum MCC 552, because this culture has EPS production ability, high antioxidant property, cholesterol reduction, then bile salt hydrolysis, and inducing a immune response also. And okay, so you can see the several of the property which we have studied in Lactobacillus fermentum. As I told that the taxonomy of Lactobacillus fermentum has been changed now. I have not edited here. You will see that this culture was compared with another Lactobacillus fermentum from the human source, and then you can actually see that several useful property Lactobacillus fermentum 2670 exhibits, and we compared our results with the standard reference cultures available in the public domain. So very clearly actually you can see with reference to the presence of several probiotic marker genes, the antioxidant ability, the cholesterol, anti-inflammatory property, and all this work or tests are performed in a mice model. Yes. So this is actually the study pertaining to the clinical trial of this Lactobacillus fermentum MCC 2760. Now this culture has been kept with the MCC as a safe deposit, and we actually given the 20-day study in the human subject, and we had actually very interesting results with reference to the anthropometric measurement, the blood pressure and immunological parameters, and we could actually see that upon the probiotic intervention, we could see the reduction in the cholesterol, low density lipoproteins, and then triglyceride that was increased, to the level high density and high density lipoprotein was also noticed. We are actually subsequently trying to develop a technology where this culture actually can be supplemented to the consumer, where we will take a healthy individuals and see how the cholesterol can be managed. Just I wanted to tell two more other experiment pertaining to this culture, where we have actually evaluated the ability of Lactobacillus fermentum for the diabetics, and then that study actually is published, as well as the high fat diet, and in both the cases the results are promising. This clearly tells that the Lactobacillus fermentum MCC 2760 specific strain is a very interesting probiotics with a high number of with a large number of health benefits. Just to summarize the results obtained with reference to Lactobacillus fermentum, because right now at least 4 different PhD students are working on this particular culture with reference to the different aspects, and we are actually doing the preclinical trial as well as the clinical trial using this Lactobacillus fermentum. So as I indicated before, that Lactobacillus fermentum has been renamed as Lactobacillus fermentum, and as I said that this culture was in the general deposit. Now this has been transferred to the safe deposit with MCC 052 accession number. So just a schematic representation how the Lactobacillus fermentum exhibit the health benefit. You can actually see very clearly it restores the gut microbiota, interact with the gut epithelium, and increases the GLP level associated with the glucose metabolism, strengthen the tight junction protein. We have looked these genes by the RT-PCR. Then it actually reduces the TLR4 and then increases the TLR2. Okay. Subsequently, it helps activate the several of the cytokines, and we have actually seen the inflammatory markers in liver, muscle, as well as in the adipose tissue. And we can see upon supplementation of lactobacillus, the inflammatory markers is being reduced, the insulin sensitivity is increased in all the organs. This clearly tells that the Lactobacillus fermentum is a potential even for the diabetics purpose. Okay. Yes. Based on the Lactobacillus Plantarum, we have actually developed one database because Lactobacillus Plantarum initially has a limited species, but now the Lactobacillus Plantarum has been reclassified into 25 different genera. And this 25 different genera provides almost close to 400 species. Okay. So we actually we have developed the database where collection of all the species is brought together, where this database will help the workers to identify taxonomically, to help the researcher to tell what the probiotic property they exhibit and what are their genes associated with the pathogenicity, if at all, or virulent genes. So this database was inaugurated by DGCSI around September 6, 2021 when he visited CFTRI. Several of our actually this probiotic products we incorporate in a food system like nectar. This is actually the carrot nectar. Then we actually make a probiotic lassi also. And then we make the shelf-stable probiotic curd using the Lactobacillus fermentum cultures. Okay. Yes. So this is what actually the description exclusively about the Lactobacillus plantarum. The database which we have developed is known as the Lactobacillus C Explorer, which is described here. Okay. Now I just move to a very small part of the presentation, and this is about the isolation of a bifidobacteria from fermented rice product haria. Again, once again to tell that the bifidobacteria, their natural habitat is a gastrointestinal tract. They colonizes in the large intestine, in the colon. What they do in the fermented rice. Okay. So this was actually the work carried out by one of our colleague in West Bengal, and that the student who did this work is a postdoc with me, Dr. Mosmi Ray, and I asked her to make this 2 slide that from the haria, how the haria is prepared. The procedure is given here. So here is the procedure with reference to the preparation of the earthen pot for the sterilization, then the substrate preparation. So here the substrate is the rice grain, and then natural fermentation process. And in this natural fermentation process, what they saw is the bifidobacterial cultures. And this bifidobacterial culture was characterized taxonomically, and subsequently they have checked with reference to the probiotic properties, and then they have seen that whether this culture can reduce the obesity. So they exclusively look for the marker associated with the obesity. Okay. So these markers which were shown to in the mice model, where the mice was fed with this product, the haria product, where they could actually see that the several of this marker associated with the obesity or adipogenicity were reduced, and they could actually see in the biochemical analysis like the reduction of the total cholesterol, the triglyceride level for LDL, and increase in the SDL level. Okay. So such important health benefit was found with reference to this bifidobacterium species MKK4, which was obtained basically from the haria. And purpose to tell this example here is because I wanted to tell what are actually the probiotics that are obtained from the fermented food, naturally fermented food. So that was the purpose. Okay. So with this, I am concluding my presentation. This is actually the activities which is going to take place in our laboratory on 24th and 25th of this month, again from the Probiotic Association of India. I hope the participants of this workshop also will join for our workshop exclusively, where we are going to talk about only the Bipedobacter probiotics, how the Bipedobacter supplementation can actually happen. Okay, so I am inviting the most of the delegate of the present workshop that they participate in our forthcoming activity also by registration. Okay. This is my teammate in the department. Exclusively, as I already in the introduction indicated about my research activities pertaining to the genomics of the probiotic, where we look from the bacillus, the lactobacillus, then lactobacillus fermentum, lactobacillus plantarum, then the bifidobacteria. Within the bifidobacteria, the bifidobacteria brevi, bifidobacterium longum, and this species with the COVID center, which we have actually crossed almost the 6 lakh sample of testing. In addition to the microbiology and then COVID center of responsibility, I have one more responsibility of heading this department, food protectant and infestation control. Very interesting actually is the work, and this is actually the unique department with reference to the conservation of the preservation of the grains or the store grain, and we know that most of the actually store grain where the 20% loss wastage is there, or the loss is there because of the insect pest, because of the rodents, So how the fumigation can be done, how actually the grain can be stored for the long time, So that from that angle, this is also very strategically important department in R&D activities. Yes. With this, I am concluding my presentation with this saying, it is the lone worker who makes the first advances in the subject. The details may be worked out by a team, but the prime idea is due to the enterprise, thought, and perception of the individual. I thank you very much for your kind attention, and I will be actually happy to take few questions. I know that the previous speaker also is waiting, so we will have a very useful discussion. And once again, I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prakash, for your lecture. So, participants who have any questions related to this lecture as well as previous lecture, they may drop their queries in the chat box. And आवाज आ रही है? Oh.
ये शुरू कर रहा है speaker.
Hello, can you hear me?
1 minute. I am unable to hear actually. Okay. Yeah, can you repeat please? Yeah, now it is better.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Dr. Prakash, for such a wonderful lectures. And related to questions like from this lecture as well as from the previous lectures, if you have their questions, they can drop it in the chat box. And now I request Dr. Jitendra Saini for the question and answer session. Dr. Jitendra.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja. So we have 3-4 questions in the chat box. So the first question is, what are the possible diseases that can be cured by taking the strain-specific probiotics through pharmaceutical tablets, other than the nutrition deficiency disease? So what are the diseases that can be specifically cured, that have been proven to be cured by probiotics, other than the nutrition deficiencies?
So is the question audible to you?
Yeah, I am seeing the question. So basically,
yes,
Lactobacillus casei shirota strain has been exclusively studied for the diabetics. Even we have tested our fermentum culture for the diabetics. Then we actually measure the blood pressure also, the fermentum culture. Lactobacillus rhamnosus, we know that for the cholesterol reduction, it has been employed or exploited. So several such clinical trials are available. or clinically proven probiotics are there in the and are they actually commercially available? I think the last part of Dr. Prajapati's lecture, this few of these such slides were there, I could actually see. When we actually started the clinical trial work, we have reviewed the literature and then we could actually see that several such examples for particular lifestyle diseases are available. We wanted to test for the IBD, IBS, the Bacillus and then Bifidobacteria group. Then for the cholesterol or for the cardiovascular, we wanted to test the Lactobacillus Fermentum also. And we actually tested the Bifidobacteria for arthritis. We induced the arthritis and we could see a very promising results when Bifidobacteria brevi was supplemented. Yes.
So it's more, sir, strain specific activities.
Strain specific effect we have seen because we checked brevi, longum, and we could see actually the brevi had a better effect. Yes. Strain specific, exactly. Similarly, the Lactobacillus Fermentum, which I have shown the 2760, we tested one more 2759 culture, which was from the human feces. And this culture actually has a better ability to reduce the inflammation. Then it has actually better ability for the glucose metabolism also. Yes. The strain specific effect was there when we compared, exactly. And with reference to the Lactobacillus Plantarum, the two culture which I have shown, the one was of course the MTCC1 and our Lactobacillus Plantarum has shown the promising results. We have such results, the strain with reference to the strain specificity.
Okay, thank you, sir. One question to Dr. Prajapati. Sir, Gunjan here. The major problem what I see in the probiotic is that the cost. So what are the ways by which we can scale down the cost of the production of probiotics, or like whenever we now for the children, whenever we go to the doctor and now doctors are prescribing probiotic sachets to them like Bacillus coagulans or maybe some other species, but the cost is too high. Still we are like one sachet cost around 20 rupees.
Yeah, question.
The cost is naturally high because it is coming from those multinational companies and all are imported. We have few, but they are still under the influence of those high level companies. Until and unless we develop our own cultures and then we give in a medium which will also provide nutrition. That is where other than taking a pure probiotic, we recommend food. That probiotic dahi, for example, or a chas itself, which will have the probiotic culture. Then we need not go for those purchase from a medical shop and then give it, because this will be costly. But you can get a pouch of chas in 10 rupees and that will be good for that. Still, the doctors are not convinced by this phenomenon. Even ice cream. See, if you take a probiotic ice cream, the children will like it. And then they will also have the content, suitable content of probiotic into that. वही क्रिश्चियन एंसन के कल्चर जो है दोनों अमूल के चोकोबार में भी होते हैं with the intensity as to 8 per gram of this. So this is required to be educated, as I told that, and the people should consume those live rather than the vials from the medical store. I'm sorry, I was not there in between for some time because I had to go for some other meeting and then I just came back. तो हालांकि सर मैंने आपका पूरा लेक्चर नहीं सुना, I'm sorry for that, but
yeah, there is actually a question regarding the fermented food, that if we are developing a probiotic beverage using probiotic strain, after development of the product, do we need to do all the probiotic tests like other tests, etc.? Yes, definitely. How it culture performs in vitro has to be repeated in vivo preclinically. And of course, clinically, we do not have such mechanism, but then we will be actually able to assess the probiotic health benefits. So that is actually very much required to study in preclinically in a healthy and then disease model, and then clinically among the healthy first, and then disease also. So if we can actually show such results, that means it is a proven probiotics.
I will just like to add to that.
Exactly.
There is one decision-making tree-type article has come, which has come for Mary Ellen Sanders, that whether all clinical trials are required to be repeated when we change the product format or the delivery substrate. For example, if I make dahi with the same culture and also the ice cream with the same culture or the things, so whether this matrix is affecting the therapeutic benefits of the culture or not. So that is to be decided based on the intensity of processing which is given, and whether the processing which is involved in that. For example, if you convert into powder, then high heat is there, and whether it can mutate some genes and other things and so. So in such cases, it is required to be validated once again. So the benefits are to be tested on the product which you are required to do. But every time we cannot repeat the clinical trials on different formats of products. So there is a guideline paper. I will circulate. I will send it to you, Gunjan. Unluckily, I could not include that decision tree in my presentation, but it is there. One slide is there, which will say that when you are required to repeat the clinical trial and when you want to just simply do one or two biochemical tests and get confirmation. So you need not go, because every time going for clinical trial is very, very expensive.
Exactly. As sir has already indicated, and in my third slide, it was there actually after telling the probiotic definition, how the efficacy or the health benefits of probiotic has to be assessed following our ICMR DBT guidelines. Actually, next question also is quite interesting. What are the specific probiotics and its associated diseases which are due to dysbiosis of their composition, and how they show the effect of disease transmission in genetic level from generation to generations. So they will not be able to transmit the disease from generation, because this is not at a genetic level, but that dysbiosis is only in that generation or only in that stage, right? So unless and otherwise the genetic material changes, we will not have that problem. But the diseases like ASD is there, or Alzheimer's is there, that can be actually treated by the modulating a particular gut microbiota or particular probiotics. Okay. So this diseases, some of these inheritable diseases, that can actually be treated by supplementing or with the probiotic intervention. Okay. That is what actually I can tell here. Yeah, exactly.
Can I interview?
There is one more interesting question, I believe. I have a question regarding fermented food. Maybe we will answer jointly with the Prajapati sir, because this is again the fermented food. If we are developing a probiotic beverage using a probiotic strain, after developing product, do we need all the probiotics? I think this is already covered.
Yes, sir. Dr. Usha is here. She is asking some question. Dr. Usha?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I have a thought, like, in follow-up of Mr. Sudeep Babu's question, like actually the recent trend is to follow the, nutrition genetics. What I mean is, like, to look at the nutrient or the, let's say, a probiotic which is good for me may not be good for you, because the study is that, like, the nutrigenomics and other studies, the metabolomics, what they say is that, like, which is good for me may not be good for you, because the thought comes from, like, if we grab our like Prajapati sir said, like, if we go to our ancient history, there are families which have been following the same food for ages. They will not even mix up. Like, that was one reason, was to maintain that they inherit the same gut microbiome. And second thing, they say that the maternal expression, whatever it is there, it is right from the very early stage, and that is what it determines the entire development. So if that is the case, how do you say, sir, like the effect of the probiotics on genetic generation after generation is not possible? Can you kindly elaborate on that?
Can I answer?
Yes, please.
Yes, Dr. Usha.
Yes, sir.
Actually, see, the gut microbiota, even though we have some microbes coming directly from the mother.
Yes, sir.
But now in this era where you know about the hygiene hypothesis, the cesarean deliveries. So it initially develops a very poor gut microflora, and that is why we require to modulate it with external influences. And also our food habits, the environment, everything has changed. It is not as it was there 50 years before or 100 years before and so. So we are under constant threats from the environment, from our food habits and from our activities. For example, the last 2 years of COVID has made many people almost sterile, and that is why they are getting so much sensitive to common cough, cold and allergies and other things and things that as repeatedly we used washing our hands and use of extensive sanitizers, other things, they are destroying the normal flora, and that is why these things are happening. And the things do not go from generation to generation because some basic flora will always be there. But when their population goes down because of the external influences, we need to supplement it so that it remains to a positive balance. So we always talk about the regulation of gut flora, not that we want to increase population of some and some kill something other thing. See, coliforms are essential, even though we say that's not good for a food product, but it is essential for us. It should be there, and that is why we can keep like that. But now when we will get a signature of a particular person, that yes, this is the profile of a particular person, and then this kind of flora is there, then we will know that what type of flora to be supplemented, what kind of food should be given. That is the personalized nutrition. That concept will come in very near future. But at the moment, it is very expensive to do the profiling of each and every individual, and that is why you go for a generic one. And this is the only alternative available with us. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Jitin, do we have any other question?
Any other question from the audience?
Still, they can send it by mail, no problem. We happy to reply.
The questions were there in chat box. I read most of them.
Yes.
Okay.
If any other question is there, they can always send me by email.
Sir, to Dr. Prakash, can I ask one just out of curiosity?
Yes, definitely.
So, I mean, it was fantastic. Like you showed that the mucin, the mucus, whatever we have. So it is all, the adherence property of these different probiotics matters. So that's what I understood. So if that is the case, like, sir, how do we, like, let us say in a disease condition or so, how do we understand that it is because of the adherence? Like, how do we, at first place, like, we get to know that it is because of adherence, sir? And there should be some other modifications as well, which is going to happen on the mucus, right? Like, so how do we understand that, sir?
Yeah, actually, adherence is one of this complex process. And we actually see that adherence ability among the several pathogens also. Like a MUB domain, you will see even in some of this pathogen, especially in the listeria, such these things is there. But the lactics has the advantage of their acidifying the gastrointestinal tract, some other antimicrobial substances, tolerating the acid. So that actually helps to overcome or has the antagonistic property. And as far as the adherence is concerned, the number of actually MUB domain which we have seen in several pathogen also such conserved MUB domains are there. Much more complex process.
Yes.
GI tract don't discriminate. This is a pathogen. This is a probiotic or lactic acid bacteria. Wherever they have, the more domains it has. So what actually we have seen that most of this Lactobacillus Plantarum group, which are not commercially exploited as a probiotics, but the new species. I don't have that particular species name. They have actually much better MUB domains, better performance for the adhesions. So such, what we are trying to tell is that such the culture which has actually higher number of MUB domain can suit better when with reference to competing with the pathogenic bacteria, with reference to their colonization, with reference to displacing them while colonization. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. Ambesh Kumar for proposing vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja. On behalf of the entire organizing team, I would like to provide my sincerest thanks and heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar. Despite his very busy schedule, he makes all his efforts and intentions to grace us the occasion with his gracious presence and inspiring words. Thank you so much, sir. I want to also express my heartfelt gratitude to the speakers of the day, Dr. Jd Prajapati and Professor Prakash Alami, for delivering the inspiring talk and very informative talk on probiotics fermented food. Thank you very much, sir. I also would like to thanks to the Dean Academic, Dean Research, Dean from different schools for their supports and guidance. I would also like to thank HODs from different departments for their active presence during the sessions. I would also like to thanks to the PhD scholars, students, participants attended from the different organizations for this session and during the entire workshop. At the last, I would also like to thank to the ICT section for coordinating us during the entire session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ambesh. Now I request all of you please rise up for the national anthem. Dr. Kunjan, can you play national anthem?
Just a minute, ma'am. So in the end of this inaugural session, I would like to thank our speakers, Prajapati sir and Dr. Prakash. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sparing this time for us. And maybe we will have more collaborations in the future. And surely we will join the network, the Fermented Food Network. And thank you all. Thanks for the participation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.